All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Coffee Q&A, your daily dose of Coffee Q&A here on the Onocoffee channel. I'm Jay, your host, and we do this live stream if you're just joining us for the very first time, most Monday through Fridays, 10 a.m. Eastern, talking about coffee, different things about coffee. So how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Today, we've got something a little bit interesting, I think, that kind of started because there's a Latino market close to me called Tienda Latino, which is a little, Latino market where you go to buy Latino products. And they have tamales on Saturdays and Sundays. And if I have the time and I remember to go, I try to go. And so last weekend I was like, I got some time. So I went there and I grabbed a bunch of their tamales, right? And I was like, it's my one opportunity to try to speak some Spanish because I don't get the chance that much anymore. And so I was like, I walked in and I was like, yeah. I was like, I always ask them, like, ¿tienes tamales? They're like, sí. Oh, okay. And then I like, ¿tienes tamales de pollo, por favor? So I wanted 3 of the chicken. They do chicken and cheese. And she was like, and she didn't say but she was like, cinco por, what she said? Cinco por diez. And I was like, cinco por diez, really? So 5 for 10. I was like, I don't think she thought that I didn't understand, right? Because they know that I'm not Latino, so it's kind of funny. But I'm like, no, claro. Okay, sounds good. And so I got 5 for $10, and I've eaten 2 of them. And here's the nice thing: you buy these tamales, right? And they come like this, and you can just put them in the freezer if you want. I've left these refrigerated, so they're about a few days old, and you can keep stuff refrigerated for about 7 days at the most. 5 to 7 days is probably the most. 7 is the most you want to keep them. Power plant, good to see you. Kent, how are you? Buen dia, senor. And we've got these tamales. We're going to make the tamales, and I've got a steamer set up, and let's have a look at the steamer. It's over here. Oops, where is it coming? Come on up. The camera will come on in a moment, supposedly. There we are. So this is the steamer. I've got this little Oster steamer here. It is, a nice little steamer. Works well. Like, it actually heats up really fast. So all we have to do now, since these are steamed to begin with, right? So basically, what is tamal? What is a tamal? A tamal. So these are tamales, right? But one by itself is a tamal, right? And so basically, it is corn masa, or in this case, this is maseca, with lard, and they put, like, in this one, they put some chickpeas, and I think they put potatoes, some seasonings, and the chicken, and then they roll it. And in this one, they put it, I can't remember I think they normally use a corn wrapper, like the corn husk wrapper, but this one, I don't remember if it is in a corn wrapper or not. We're going to find out, but it only takes like 10 minutes of steaming, so we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to go and, even though I have the thing running, so I'm going to turn this off. I just want to make sure we got the steam running, because we got the espresso machine running on the same circuit, so I don't want to run them both, just because I don't want to have to go trip the breaker and then, have a problem. Microwave is great for tamales. Microwaves are great, but you know what? When I'm going to make it, luckily I have a little bit of time, so we can make it nice. I find that it's really nice to steam them again. But I thought, let's make some coffee with our tamales. And originally I was going to just do regular coffee. Then I thought, you know what? How about the Cafe de Olla? So the Cafe de Olla is a way of making coffee that's traditional in Mexico, or in Mexico. And it's a really fun way to drink coffee. Let me see what. Now, what is an olla? So it's called Cafe de Olla because cafe is coffee. That should go this way. Cafe de Olla. Cafe is coffee of the olla. And the olla is like a clay pot. And it's a clay pot for cooking. It's a bigger pot. And it looks not like this, but this is the material. This is actually a jara. which is a jar for you can brew your coffee and then put it in here and then you serve it. But this is the only like olla kind of thing that I have, but it's very rustic. This one is kind of funny because I was cleaning up it. As you can see here, here's the spout and here's the handle. The handle is slightly canted. So it's really like super rustic. This is truly what like you will use in the Puebla. And then like even there's a little bit of detritus, of clay detritus that's glazed and fired onto the thing. So it's slightly tippy. I got this during a trip to Mexico one year, and I was like, oh, all right, this is awesome. So we're going to use that. We're just have it. But here's the thing. So you can take this and put it on your fire, right? So we're going to make today's Cafe de Olla in this pot, right, with this butane burner. Oh. And I think fire works better with the clay. I mean, you can use other heat sources like electric heat. But one of the things you want to do is when you're working with this, especially this is true of any clayware, cookware that you're going to be using, you want to heat it slowly. So don't just gun it. Like a lot of times with metal, we'll gun the heat. You don't want to do that with the clay pots because like right now it's fairly cool in here. And so this is room temperature, was probably about 60 some degrees. You run the risk of overheating it and cracking it. And, if you crack your clayware, really kind of mucks things up. So don't try to go at it really slowly with the heat, or if you're going to hit it with a little bit more heat, then go with, make sure you have like your liquids or ingredients in your clay pot before you begin. So you want to, but if you want to, like, let's say do some searing stuffing or just heat up the pot before you put it in, make sure you bring that temperature up gently. Start low, then bring it to medium, then bring it to high, and then drop your stuff in. The microwave radiation says power plant, and the husk works well to instantly steam into internally steam them. Nice. Good morning to you there, Andrew. How are you doing? So what we're going to need some ingredients for our Cafe de Olla. And one of the most important ingredients is something called canela. And canela is a type of cinnamon, but it's different than the American cinnamon. This is the canela entera, so the whole cinnamon. Doesn't say what they just call it cinnamon, but this is actually different. So when you smell it, a little bit more. It's both a little bit more papery in texture than the regular cinnamon we're used to in America, and it also has a lighter color and a softer aroma and flavor. It's really quite a pretty ingredient. So we're going to need, I guess we'll get it out. We're going to need maybe one. We're not going to make a lot. Now, this recipe that we're going to go over is something that you can tailor to your needs, tailor to your likes, and you can scale it to large scale. Like I actually have to go to a Christmas party tonight. I was thinking maybe I should make a big batch, like 12 cups, and then bring that. But I was like, you know what? No, never mind. Those people will not appreciate this kind of thing. So we're going to use one canela. Now you can use more than this one canela, right? If you want, that's up to you. We're gonna put that in there. We're gonna need some whole cloves. So in this case, we're gonna put maybe 2 cloves. We're gonna use about 500 grams of water. So maybe just 2 cloves. That's good. And then we need a star anise, right? Just one will be good. And actually, here's the thing. I mean, look for a small one. We're gonna like see this. So let's get this out. Like here, this is kind of broken, but you can see that's bigger than this one, right? So we're just gonna put one because it's small. You can, lovely aromas in here, right? So we've got that. Now, what the other 2 ingredients we're gonna need is this orange peel. So we'll get our orange, and then we're gonna peel it. Just get a little bit of the peel off of it. And you can put as much or as little as you want. Try to not get too much of the rind. That's probably too much, but whatever. If you want to get a little bit technical, you could scrape off some of the rind just to reduce any kind of transition of bitterness to your foods. Okay, nice. Put that in there. Put that in there. Okay, so that's kind of our major ingredients. Now, the next thing that we're going to need here is something called Piloncillo. Piloncillo is, it gets its name because it's a type of sugar. And so if you're familiar with sugar, and most of you will be familiar with the white granulated sugar we use in most coffee, that is what's considered very refined sugar. So sugar from the natural sugar cane, right? You get the cane is growing, and then it's time to harvest. So like in Hawaii, they used to burn the fields. Like if you watch this old episode of Hawaii Five-0, like the 60s era of Hawaii Five-0, they have a scene where they're like, oh no, they're burning my fields. The sugar sugar plantation owner is, oh no. And but really you burn the fields to remove all of the excess, and then you can clean cut them and then take them. So you take the cane and then you squeeze it you basically run it through a squeezer and you squeeze the cane juice out of it. Now the cane juice has molasses in it. So when you actually squeeze the cane juice, if you ever look at a YouTube video where they're doing that, you can see that the juice of the cane is really dark. Now, what we use as sugar is refined. So they basically refine the sugar liquid until to remove that brownness, that molasses that's coloring it, to make molasses, which is different than blackstrap molasses, right? So true molasses is the byproduct or the excrement of the refination process, but it's still very beautiful. So what Piloncillo is, and this is a little Piloncillo. You can see this one is by a company called Rio Grande, which is a Texas-based company here in the United States. Unrefined brown sugar. So this is basically unrefined brown sugar. Once they probably filter it a little bit, hopefully, but once they squeeze it out of the thing, they put them into these little conical shaped molds where it then cools and solidifies. That's pyramids, right? Little pilons. So little pilones, Piloncillo, which is small pyramid, and this one is not a piloncillo. This is just the sugar. They wrap it in, looks like corn or something. Let's get into it and see what we got here. This is way more than we would possibly ever need for today. And the difficult part is that this is a very hard product. I mean, physically hard. So it's a little bit more difficult to work with in that respect. Oh gosh, come on now. We don't have all day. This, I think, is a corn wrapper. Okay, we're just gonna get at it. And the nice thing about this is that it'll hold for a very long time. Like this is actually something I've had for quite a long time. And let's get into it here. So I'm not going to open all of it, just this one. We don't need all of this. Like this is really a lot. Take off more. Goodness. Probably should have done this before we started rolling. Anyway, you get what's going on here, right? Okay. What's going on here? What is going on here? Okay, good. Now let me clear this off here. All right, so now we've got you can see it's, there is two in here. Nice, okay, so it's not, it is two. So here, Piloncillo. This is the Piloncillo, and as you can see, it's very rustic. It's very like rough looking. Like, do you really want to put that in your mouth? You probably don't. It doesn't look very nice, but it is magical in flavor. So we're just going to take this. We don't need all of this. Like this is too much. So it's actually super hard, right? So we have to figure out. I'm going to use maybe that much is good. So I'm using a serrated knife to help this process. Good Lord. I I should probably just use a ice pick. I bet the ice pick works better. So it's, as you can see, it's not, it's while it's hard, it's not like too soft. So as I'm cutting into it, the friction is developing heat, which is melting it and making it a little bit more tacky. So it's not so easy to. What you could do is just put this in a tub of water, heat it up, and then make a Piloncillo syrup. That would be just as good. Ooh, this is tough. I think I should have brought the reciprocating saw. That would have made life a little bit easier. Do I have? I don't have any. Oh, maybe this one. Good Lord, that's not good. That's not a good way to cut it. Normally, I use this whole thing. Today, well, we may end up using the whole thing. Okay, we're going to use the whole thing. Might as well. Let's take all the ingredients out of that. We're going to take this, put this in here, and we're going to just we're going to do it a little bit differently than I originally had envisioned. We're going to add water. That's good. And now I'm going to take this and put it on the fire, which is off camera. I'll put that over here. All right, so there it is. Live television sometimes doesn't go as well. Now, one thing about the, if you don't have, here's the thing, don't feel compelled to have to find Piloncillo. You don't have to go to the Latino market to buy this. You can buy all of this at the Latino market. That you can. The only thing that I get at the Latino market really is the Piloncillo and the Canela, because it's harder to get Canela from non-Latino sources. So there's that. What else did I think about? But the flavor is nice, kind of molassesy, darker, a little bit more like complex. And one of the things is so like I mentioned, if you're thinking about making something like this, you could use any sugar. You don't have to use the Piloncillo. It does give you a little bit more depth of flavor in the finished drink, a little more authentic flavor of the drink. And of course, a lot of this started because, it's very like common people kind of drinking, right? This is like coffee, coffee tends to be kind of harsh and rough, and especially when you're like in the countryside. And people are always looking for ways to make that more enjoyable. And so a lot of these are added through history because, the common people wanted to make something a little more palatable. And just like a lot of like favorite dishes around the world, the favorite traditional dishes tend to come from more humble origins. And I think that's where the Cafe de Olla really originates. So ways to make something that is bitter and harsh, more palatable, sugar, spices. Now, if you're getting the sugar, so like there's the Piloncillo, this unrefined cane sugar, which is a nice product. But if you don't want to use it, you can use anything. Even use pure cane sugar refined, right? Or anywhere between. So you've got things like turbinado sugar, and you've got things like the panela that we've seen on the show. These, and they're all levels of brown. Those are all actually different levels of refination. So we've got this unrefined Piloncillo type of product. Then there's something we have called Canela, which is a company that I know in Colombia makes it, where they refine it a little bit. They don't refine it. They don't leave it completely unrefined. They refine it just a little bit to remove some of that molasses, turbinado sugar, like sugar in the raw, is even more raffination. And then we finally get to full raffination, which is pure cane sugar. Brown sugar you can use as well, right? Like light brown, dark brown sugar. Dark brown sugar, if you want to buy it, that's easier to make, or that's easier to use, but that's a little bit different. So what they do is they remove all of this molasses from here to make the cane sugar, and then to make the brown sugar, they actually add molasses to refined sugar to create the different degrees of light or dark brown sugar. So if you actually want to, and you know how you get like brown sugar and it's always like you don't use it right away and it's always hard, it's super hard, but that's because it just gets to be like this. How to avoid that, and one great way to get around that and save some money is if you buy like pure cane sugar molasses. Blackstrap molasses will work to a certain degree, but it won't be as nice a flavor. But if you buy molasses, you can then, and then you have recipes that are saying you need brown sugar, you take your regular cane sugar, mix a little bit of, pour a little molasses on, just a little bit, mix it all together, and you've got brown sugar. So that's a way to get around it. Now, it's coming along. It's just taking a while. One thing about sugar to know, and this is true whether it's in this state or another state, is that sugar will break down and become soluble in water. Actually, what I'm going to do is I have gotten this to. Oh, there's a piece of corn there. We're going to change what we're doing again. So here you can see it is. We've had this sugar infuse itself into, and I think that's going to be enough. We don't need to put a lot. So we're going to take this out. Oh, crap. It's not totally, there's cavities inside because of the bubbles. So we're going to take this apart. Now that's going to give us enough. I'm pretty sure that's going to be enough. Oh yeah, that's plenty. Let's give us a nice little dark character. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put this aside. We don't need to do it all. And then now we're going to add our cinnamon, star anise, and a couple cloves. And then we're going to put this back on the fire and let it continue to simmer. Uh-oh. Looks like I need to replace the butane. So now we're going to let that simmer for a while. And in order to get a good infusion, we're going to let it simmer for probably about 20 minutes or so. So we're going to let that roll. And we're going to go work on getting our tamales ready. Some more. So now I've got the tamales right, so you can see the So here's our steamer. I turn it back on. And it's really simple just to do this. You're just going to take the steamer. We're just going to put the tamales. I'll only use 2 today. Probably should use all 3, but maybe I'll save that for the after show. All right, so that's fairly simple. Put it in the steamer. And you can microwave it. You can put it in the oven if you want. I think if you have a steamer, this is a nice way to do it. And while I have this steamer, I don't always use this. Like when I made it the other day, I basically just found, I just took a pot and I put a little bit of water in it, and I put like a little spoon, a little cup inside the pot, put the tamale on top, and just let it go, because all you need to do is generate the steam. You don't have to get steam baskets or anything. Well, you can do whatever you want. But the nice thing is that it'll be in here now, and we can hold it for a while. I can set the timer a little bit longer. There we go. That'll be good. So we've got that rolling. Power plant says cooking on low-fired ceramics is underrated, and traditionally Boston baked beans were cooked in a low-fired ceramic pot called a crock. The crock pot. That makes sense. In South Korea, they have a tekbegi, which is a black bowl. Just got to turn down the boil. Which is a black bowl they cook stews and bibimbap in. I do like that little hot pot. But in bibimbap, it's only the dolsot bibimbap that is in the pot. Is that correct? In Tunisia, Northern Africa, they will use a low-fire ceramic pan with a cone-shaped lid called a tagine. Right. And I particularly like the Malaysian Singapore coconut palm sugar, akagula maleka. Oh, nice. Andrew says, time for some festool. I know, I should have. They have there's a tool company called Flex, speaking of the festool, right? And reciprocating saw. And Flex has been in Lowe's for the last 3 years, and basically Lowe's is abandoning them, and they're kicking them out. And so Lowe's this past week and a half or so, Lowe's has been clearing out. So if you're looking for power tools, and it may be too late, as of today, it may be too late, there could be some great deals to be had on Flex tools. And Flex tools are very well regarded by those who use them. And the interesting thing is that I was like, oh man, I have a reciprocating saw, a DeWalt, that I've had for like 30 years. Really old. It's like 1998. And I was cutting some pallets a couple days ago. And I'm like, I wish it had more oomph, right? More oomph. But it's a 30-year-old tool. Of course, it's not going to have the oomph of modern tools. Festool makes something called the RSC, which is their version of the reciprocating saw. It's wildly expensive. It's probably like $300 or something like that. Somewhere between $350. And and it's a beast. It's a tank. It's like a beast. Like you pick it up, you're like, man, this thing is like heavy. It's like 50 pounds or something. So it's like you expect it to tear it up. Problem is, it's expensive, and I still have a reciprocating saw. So I'm like, if it dies, when my DeWalt dies, then maybe I'll get the Festool. But I remember the guys at the Festool group were like, Festool developed the reciprocating saw, because reciprocating saws evidently are not popular outside the United States. It's really a big tool here in the U.S., but outside, not so much. So instead of putting a lot of resources into developing their own version of the reciprocating saw, evidently Festool went to Flex and collaborated on their reciprocating saw to make Festool's reciprocating saw. Now, Festool added a bunch of stuff that's a little bit nicer, and I think it's heavier. But it's essentially the same tool in many respects. So I was like, so the local Lowe's they're normally like $225. The local Lowe's was blowing them out like at $99. I was like, what? $99? That's crazy. So I got one. Haven't used it yet. Maybe this weekend. I got some more pallets. So, Mom, so that's good morning to you, Mom. All right, so we've got that going. Everything's going. Our Cafe de Olla is slowly simmering away here. Now, when you look at it and you put the Piloncillo in it, it looks kind of fierce. It's super dark brown. You're like, what is going on with this stuff here? Is that safe to even eat? But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. So we've got about, how many grams? We've got maybe 500 grams of water brewing up in here. I just topped it off a little bit. So we're going to use that as our base. So 500 grams, we want to have what? 24 grams. We're not quite twice. Maybe like we want to have 40, 45 grams of coffee. So let's get that prepared, because what we're going to do is we're going to make this, and we're not going to necessarily, well, maybe we'll put less, because we're going to do two different ways of making this. So we're going to use, actually, we'll just use 30 grams. So now you can use any coffee you want. Here's the thing. If you want to be traditional with the coffee for the Cafe de Olla, get Mexican coffee from Chiapas, Guerrero, wherever. Get the Mexican coffee, and you'll have kind of a muy auténtico kind of experience. But you can use whatever you want. And here's the thing. As you experiment with the quantities of ingredients to fit your taste, and it's totally acceptable to do that, you can also then experiment with different coffees to affect the flavor of the Cafe de Olla. In this particular case, I've got a couple coffees here that I'm thinking about. One is the Cafe de Bola, which is their Ethiopia Dukamo Rumadomo, which is a lovely natural processed fruity coffee. And maybe thinking about something that's more not necessarily Latin. This is Copidota Reserva Special from Brazil. And then this one is an American coffee of the House of Representatives, coffee from Puerto Rico. Now, these two coffees I'm thinking I'm going to use because these are, what do you call it? These are pre-ground. These are pre-ground coffees. And maybe we'll use this one because we're not so friendly as America to Mexico, so we'll use the Brazil. So let's put that in here. We're going to weigh out, we're going to weigh out 24 grams. And why are we doing this? We're going to weigh out 24 grams because I'm actually going to use part of our liquid today to make a different drink. It doesn't have to be perfect. So here, this is Copidota, which is a really nice farm down in Brazil. And we use their coffee, very finely ground coffee. Smells pretty good. All right, so this should be pretty good. We're just going to say that. I mean, you can cook for as long as the more you cook it, the more infusion you will do, right? So, but there's always going to be a point of diminishing return. So we probably had this maybe 10 minutes at the most. And I think that's going to be fine. Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to take some of this. I'm going to put it in this mug. Good enough. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit more water to this. Bring it back up to some heat. Oh, and actually what we're going to do is we're going to add the coffee to it now. There we go. Add the coffee. Stir it in. Then I'm going to put it back on the heat at a very low temperature. A low flame meaning, for the next 4 minutes so that we can make coffee. Then I just realized I needed to grab a filter. To filter this out when we get to the point. So I grabbed an Abaca filter by Cafec and the Cafec flower dripper. So we're going to use this as our filtration medium. And one thing to consider is that you will expect to have some retention of your, because you're pouring it, so you tend to pour a lot of the fines first, so it's going to clog faster. All right, let's see if I can turn this back on without tripping the circuits. Okay, great. Now, how do we drink this? Now, if we drink this, this is just the liquid without any coffee. So it's just our star anise and other ingredients in here. So we're going to have a little bit of a taste. Oh, that's very sweet, very concentrated. I'm going to add some hot water. Now, all this liquid is missing is the coffee. And if you wanted to do something like this, you could just make this as a base syrup. And it's not necessarily syrup. It's not quite the ratio, but it's a base mix. Then later, you could actually add the coffee however you want. So many ways to approach this. And that's what we're going to do over here. We're going to come to our espresso machine. Right, there we are. And we're going to make what is essentially an Americano. So we've got our thing here. And now we're just using our regular espresso. Oh, I can't do that because there we go. Now we're just going to brew directly into our, take that spout off. So now we're just floating it on top of the oil. Some issues. Oh, not as good as before. That's all right. That's all right. That could have been a lot better. Here's our coffee. Look at this thing. What a disaster going on here. So there is our not very well executed Americano. Cafe de Olla, I don't know. It's floating on top, so I think we need to stir it a little bit to get more homogenization of our drink. Oh yeah, that's better. That's better. A lot more of the sweetness. Now we're ready to go to the next one. We're going to take our Marty Curtis mug. And this one's going to be a little bit easier. We're just going to take I'm going to bring this here. And now we're just going to scoop it out. And I'm doing this rather than pouring it only because I can hopefully see and not overspill. Now, conversely, you could just do a pour over with this sweetened infused liquid over your coffee. That could be another way to approach it. And as you can see, it's the coffee itself is fairly finely ground to begin with, but you can see that the flow is relatively slow because all those fines have now caught themselves in the filter. And as you can see here on the sides of the paper, this white paper is already, the capillary action is all of it's brown now because it's so clogged. Like if I lift it up here, you can see the flow is very slow, right? So that's one thing to consider with this. Put that to the side. What amount of sugar for the 500 grams of liquid? You could put whatever you want. We didn't really measure. Now, if I was to do this in a commercial setting and make it like we would do production with it, in a cafe, I would work out exactly how much ratio I want to do with each ingredient. So let's say 500 milligrams. I would say probably, well, it's hard for me to say because I don't know the weight of the Piloncillo to begin with. So that's a little bit more of a difficult question to ask. But, this is actually quite sweet. It's probably about as sweet as they do it in Mexico, but a little bit sweeter than I would prefer. All right, but this is taking a long time. As you can see, we've pretty much stalled. Yeah, look at that. So we're just going to we'll set that aside. And it's time for tamal. Let me go grab one. So remember, it's been steaming, so do be careful with the steam. I'm going to bring it back here. And oh, it does have a little bit of banana. It has banana leaf. That's what it is. Wow. So be careful. It's hot. It's hot. Oh, man, look at that. That is just beautiful. Oh, you know what I forgot to bring, too? I forgot to bring a fork. Oh, well, it's all right. So this we can get rid of. How did I forget a fork? That's quite... Huh. Well, as we like to do in the Philippines, we like to eat with our kamay, our hands. So hands eating is the best way to go. Peter's with us. What's going on, Peter? Just watched something just now between videos. Hong Kong Ovaltine coffee. Ooh, that sounds very good. Kent's leaving us. Have a wonderful weekend. You too, man. Have a great one. Thanks for tuning in. All right, so here's our tamal. And this is tamal de pollo, right? So we're going to see what's inside. So there's a green bean, potato, kind of hot. So that's this is good. This is the tamales. So you can use it. It can be done many different ways, depending on what region of Mexico you're from or what culture you're from. Like a lot of different cultures will make a tamale, and the coffee is really just stalled. Like it's just not brewing anything. Like that. It's still very high, but well, we got some in there. We're going to use that. Okay, so now we've got our Cafe de Olla and our tamal. Oh, God. That's dangerous. So we're going to try it out, see, together. Oh, that is sweet, man. Wow. Yeah, it's too sweet for me. I need to add a little bit of hot water. Now, I don't normally encourage people to use the hot water from your espresso machine because it's just usually been sitting there for a long time and stagnant. But in this case, I have no other water supply. So sometimes you just have to go with it. All right, so how is it? Oh, that's better. That's better. Very sweet. Now, if you don't want to make it so sweet, you can use less amount of sugar. You can also use other types of sugar or other types of sweetener, not necessarily sugar, like let's say Splenda or something. You could use that if you want. That's good. I mentioned earlier that this tamal is made with maseca. Maseca is a type of corn flour. Traditionally in Mexico, these are made with something called masa. It's a particular type of corn that is processed in something they call nixtamalization or nixtamal. They mix it with like lye. I think it's lye, and it breaks it down in a certain way. I don't really understand it completely, but basically, it works really well. It makes a corn meal essentially that is very soft, and it's really I remember my first trip to Mexico when I was older. One of my friends had been there a lot. I said to him, how does the flavor of the masa differ than this? This is what's called maseca, which is a corn flour. And you can tell what's maseca because the color is very light. This is a light yellow. And my friend was like, oh man, when you taste it, you'll know. And I remember I was at this hotel in Mexico City, and I said to the bell guy, I said, hey man, where can I get something to eat? He said, oh, there's a Popeyes. And I was like, dude, I did not fly to Mexico to eat Popeyes. He said, oh, well, there's another restaurant. I said, how about not a touristy? Because after he described it, I was like, how about not a touristy restaurant? Where do you go to eat? He said, oh, me? I go across the street to the corner. Huh? So across the street from the hotel at the corner was this woman who had little pails set up on the corner, like on the sidewalk, set up on the sidewalk. And she's making, basically she's making tacos de chicharrón, right? So basically it's like fried pork skin, like chicharrón, in like a green salsa that's simmering, so it's all soft. And they take it and they put it into these tortillas, these flour tortillas made with masa. And I bought a couple and I bit into it. And the moment that I bit into it, I was like, oh my God, the flavor of the corn was explosive. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is truly what Spike was talking about. Like, holy crap, this is amazing. And so if you can get, it's in the United States, it's unless you live in certain places, it's pretty much impossible to get. Maseca is a brand of corn flour that works, that most people use. It's very widely available. Most everything is made with it. But there is a new company called Hacienda, which has been making nixtamalized corn, high quality, really beautifully flavored. I have the blue corn tortilla stuff. So if you can find that where you are, I recommend trying that. And it's really simple. A little bit of water, maybe lard. Just roll it out and then cook it. Russell says, our farmer would bring 24 tamales on Christmas morning. Oh my gosh, that is a good time. That is a good time. This is a good time. Power Plant says, Mexican food in California is undefeated. Oh no, man, there's a lot of great Mexican food out there in America now. 20 years ago, yes, definitely. But like if you go to, I think New Mexico has really beautiful, and it's Mexican, but it's like New Mexico. Like New Mexico has like New Mexican style Mexican food, or just maybe New Mexican food. Places like Duran Central Pharmacy, El Patio, even like the Pioneer has their like green chili stew, which is very nice. But I mean, you go to El Patio or you go to like Duran's, you're like, man, you're having a great time there, great time. And then that's one of the places where I was thinking where you could go and like get fresh masa, because there's a place in Albuquerque, close to the airport, called El Modelo. El Modelo has fresh corn masa. They nixtamalize it there. And last time I was there, it's been a long time, but last time I was there, like before I went to the airport, I was like, I stopped into El Modelo and I was like, I need 10 pounds. Give me 10 pounds. I took 10 pounds, put it in the bag, and flew it home. That trip, I flew home with masa from El Modelo. And then I found, I was there in October. So it's a great time to be there because all the hatch green chiles are fresh then, right? And so they roast them. They have these big roasters, outdoor roasters. And you go to almost anywhere and they're selling it. They roast it. So I was like, I need a bushel, whatever size they're selling. So I got it. They put it in a big plastic bag. I said, can you put it in 2 bags? They double bagged it. I shoved it into a double bag that I normally carry with me, and I just tossed it on the plane with the masa. It's a good time. It's a good time. And Sonora, in Sonora, they have the grand history of the Las Tortillas Harinas. Oh, nice. I didn't know that. I have not been out to that part of Mexico. I've only been to I've been to Mexico City a lot. I've been to, what's it called? Cancun and Chichen Itza. And I've been to Guadalajara. And Guadalajara was only for like a day. Like I flew in that day, hung out with my friend Adriana, and then flew back. Like, oh. Because I went to, I was in Mexico City in 2018. I flew down there for a concert. Actually, I went to go see the Momoland concert that they were having. They announced the concert, what they call a fan meet in K-pop. They announced the fan meet, and I bought tickets to the fan meet. I bought tickets to fly. I reserved my hotel room, and then they decided to cancel it. And I was like, what? But it was too late to cancel my flight. So I was like, well, I'm just going to go for the weekend. They would later reschedule it to, this was like in October. They later rescheduled it to like January. And I went again and had a great time. But I was there, and so I was like, oh man, what am I going to do now? And so I was talking to my friend Adriana, and she was like, come to Guadalajara. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, just come for a day. I was like, all right, cool. So her husband Hector and their daughter Helena they picked me up at the airport, and I flew from Mexico City. It was really kind of interesting because I always see these guys that are traveling during my travels, and I'm always amazed at how very few people, but some of them are unburdened. Like they don't carry anything. They carry a little satchel of for their passport. And that's it. And I was like, man, who are these guys that can travel internationally and have nothing with them? Like I've got a backpack and a rollerboard with me, and plus my check-in luggage because I've always got a lot of stuff to bring. And I'm always envious, always. But that day, when I went to Guadalajara for a day, I brought nothing. And I was like, I got my little booklet with my passport. And that was it. And I was like, today I am that guy. I was like, oh, so that's what it's like. So that's what it's like. All right. So here it is. Tamales and Cafe de Olla. Hopefully this gives some insight into how to make Cafe de Olla. And what I've showed you here today is a more authentic way of making it. You can really take almost any approach to it. Like you don't necessarily have to use this orange. And I've even seen people that don't use star anise. So if you don't want to use those certain ingredients, you don't. What you do want to use is maybe a little bit of clove and definitely the cinnamon. And if you can only get American cinnamon, that's fine too. If you can only get brown sugar, like baking brown sugar, that's fine too. But it's a nice way to explore a different method of making coffee. La gente típico piensa que el maíz es auténtica, pero la harina también es tradicional. Ah, that's true. That's true. Es verdad. All right. Well, that's all I have for you this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good to see all of you. Back again on Monday, where we've got more coming up. Why are we doing Monday? Monday, we're doing Swiss Miss Cocoa, dark chocolate, because, Power Plant was like, what about that kind of thing? All right, we'll try that. And I found this box of the dark chocolates. I was like, okay, that looks pretty good. If you've seen some of the shows that are coming up, I've actually got it. This is one of the very few times during the year when I actually have planned out episodes in advance, like multiple days in advance. Normally, so a lot of times it's just kind of like, oh no, what do we do tomorrow? So some cool stuff, I think for next week, especially for Christmas time. All right, Mom, good to see you. Power Plant, Russell, always good to see all of you. Hope you have a wonderful day out there and a great weekend. Here in Baltimore, we've got some nice weather. It got a little bit warm in the last couple of days, so now all the snow that has been making it beautiful is now gone, which is a typical Christmas season here in Maryland. All right, so hope you have a wonderful one, and see you next time.